Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. What a great game. Great game. It's played today in Norway. Norway Chess. One of the strongest tournaments, if not the strongest tournament ever. Amazing game. As white, Wesley So from the United States. And as black, someone that needs no introduction in the chess world, current world champion Magnus Carlsen from Norway. Fascinating game. Fascinating game. Let's get to it. So is white. Carlsen is black. We'll just go through the opening. It's going to be Slav exchange. Go to the first few moves here. Bishop e2, e6, castle, knight d7. Now, these guys are world-class players. I don't know this opening that well, if at all. So I'm not really sure. But I do have to say, though, knight d7 looked odd. But it is the first move on the computer. Bishop d6, number 2. Knight a4. These guys, I'll have this down to a science. Bishop h3. Kind of keeps a grip on g4 square. Black castles. And this is always the part of the game where I'm kind of at a loss. It's a similar structure here with the bishop, pawn, knight. Similar structure to the London, but it's not, of course. So it's similarly played. This is the part, at least in the London, where I have a hard time. So just go a3. Knight a5. Interesting. Of course, he wants to go to the, eventually go to the c4. White puts his knight in there first. Black decides I'm going to put mine in there now. b4. Just to reinforce that knight even better. And the square. Knight takes. Now we can go back and forth on what's the best pawn to take with. Normally you would take towards the center with the b pawn. And the computer actually likes the b pawn a hair better, but I like So's choice. I like the d pawn. Reason why I like that is you have 1, 2, 3 against 2. Whoops. Against 2. That's why I like it. If b had taken b6, big deal. But after d takes, knight takes a3. Now it looks like white has sacrificed the pawn. But he's going to get some play, as you're going to see here in a minute. f3, bishop g6, queen b3. Knight has to go back to c4, bishop takes, and then queen takes, and they're back even material again. I like white a little bit. Magnus looks a little backed up. It's very unusual for Magnus. I mean, look at the scope of his pieces here. I mean, everything's all boxed in. Very unlike Magnus, but he's solid. Computer shows about a third of pawn advantage. And also black has the bishop pair. Queen e8, interesting move. Computer like bishop g5. And that's probably what I would have done just to force the trade of the dark squared bishop. But who am I to question Magnus Carlsen? Bishop g3. He backs up. e5. What to do, what to do? Where do you put the knight? Not many decent spots. Knight b3. Bishop comes back. That's interesting. Now, I remember watching this. You can go to Norway Chess on YouTube. They have their own YouTube channel, and you can see the commentary done in all the rounds. I guess there was some rapid games in the beginning of this tournament. I mean, look at this position. It's hard to figure out what to do here. Again, the computer likes bishop g5, but Magnus went here. And Magnus is very intuitive. Sometimes, you don't have to know every single variation 6 or 7 moves down the road. You just know what feels good. And that's what he did, I think. And so the queen goes to d5. Good spot for that queen, by the way. Queen to b5. This looks like all hell's going to break loose any second here. You get that feeling sometimes. Bishop takes, bishop e7, queen d2. And now it looks like Magnus might have miscued. I think white is very solid, and the computer bears that out. Pawn advantage, and not a 1 1/4 pawn advantage on the board. At this point, I want to mention that I haven't done a lot of videos lately, and I used to do quite a bit. I've had some personal issues come up, been extremely difficult, some health issues as well. So I appreciate very, very much the subscribers that stayed with me. I had a little bit over 500, now it's about 496. And to all you guys out there that have stayed subscribed to me, I really, really appreciate it. So let's get back to the game. Queen of d2 for So. And this is one of those deals where you're going to move a rook. And which rook do you move? Do you move the F rook or do you move the C rook? And where do you put the F rook? E8, D8. I always get the wrong square. The computer likes rook F to E8. Magnus went D8, but that's still an excellent move. Every human in the world would have challenged that queen first. Every human in the world. Now, where would you move the queen? It's got to protect the b4 pawn. Do you really want to put it on c3? Do you really want to put it on e1? Of course, Magnus made the best, or excuse me, So made the best move. Bishop d6. Now he moves. He doesn't want to trade the dark squared bishop. I mean, I think Magnus is slowly... He's not making bad moves. He's making tiny inaccuracies, I think. Because let's go back here. I think queen of d7 is more than reasonable right here. Maybe even f5. But after bishop f6, e4. Now this bishop is pretty much blocked out. And you're going to see this bishop here. He ends up getting pretty screwed. h6. He's probably anticipating his king an escape square. It's not too early to do that. Always keep that in mind because you get tied up in the game and you forget and you get in a jam. Knight chases the queen away. And Meg decides to take the knight first. Queen takes. I mean, it's a tough spot here. Very rarely will you see this. Magnus Carlsen under the gun. And we're on move 30. And I understood, I remember watching the commentary, they were fairly low on time when they got their extra 50 minutes. If I'm not mistaken, it's 100 minutes for 40 moves with a 30-second increment. And then 50 moves after that with a 30-second increment still. So... But they're using a lot of time. This is a lot more complex than it looks. Magnus goes rook to e8. Maybe king to h7 would have been looked at. Then after f4, f5. This king's pretty safe there, and that bishop's got a lot of scope. And you're going to see why I say the bishop's got a lot of scope soon. After rook e8, rook f to e1. Now he moves the king up. g4. You're going to see this pawn storm is going to be a huge deal on the king side for So is white. f6. f4, here they come. Queen c6. Not the best move, I don't think. According to the computer, rook c to d8. Now, for those of you that say, well, you got a computer, Magnus doesn't. This is tough. He's on move 33, and he's starting to run out of time. And that's almost a 2-point advantage now for So. So he continues on, f5. Bishop has to come back. Nowhere else to go. h4. Here come the pawns. Rook to A8. Actually, I think Queen A4 might have been better for Magnus. But then you get G5 and the whole position just opens up. Rook to A8. Rook C2. Pawn goes up. Let's go back here. What else could he have done? I mean, he's in a really crappy spot. Bishop D5. Because you can't take. Because the rook is hanging with check. So he goes A5. And now Magnus is just, the game is just out of reach. Here come the pawns. He tries to get the bishop. But then, of course, he checks. I mean, he's just screwed. King comes back. Wesley keeps pushing. Now, I think that's an error. I think rook to B2 was a lot more precise. It's less than a point advantage now. He takes the pawn. Now rook goes to B2. I think he reversed the order. Queen comes back. Rook B6. Queen has to go to D7. Has to go to D7. But he decides C8, which is the second best choice. And then comes the forces slowly moving in. Rook takes. Rook comes over. Pawn comes up. And Magnus looks at this. He might be able to play on, but it's busted. It's a 6-point advantage for Wesley. So I think his best bet is maybe Bishop G4. I'll tell you the truth, Bishop takes G6 is not out of the question to continue to play on, because after Bishop takes, whoops, oh, messed that up, guys. Let's get back here. Because after Bishop takes, pawn takes, Queen checks on G4 and picks up the other pawn, but it's already busted. So Magnus throws in the towel. So now they are tied for first place, Wesley So and Magnus Carlsen, in round 6 of Norway Chess 2018, one of the strongest, if not the strongest tournament of all time. Little side note, earlier in the tournament, Ding Liren, the Chinese player, great player, wrecked on his bicycle in Norway and had to have an operation. And so he had to drop out of the tournament. So what they did was, anybody that was scheduled to play Ding Liren would just get a point, like a bye. And Vichy was mentioning, well, he gets one less rest day than everybody else because he played Ding Liren before he got hurt. So that's kind of interesting. But anyway, folks, here we are. Round 6, Magnus Carlsen takes a hit. Very rarely do you see it, but here it is. Look for other games from this tournament. And as I always say, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.